Hi everyone, my name is Mark Zellefrow and I'm a board certified behavior analyst with Oakland University's Center for Autism Outreach Services. And in this week's video, I'm going to be talking to you about how to increase appropriate behaviors and some strategies of positive reinforcement. So in this video, we're going to talk about some target behaviors, what positive reinforcement is, what negative reinforcement is, as well as some automatic reinforcement. So starting out looking at target behaviors, what is the behavior or skill that you're looking to increase? Is it a replacement behavior for something else? Is it a new skill that we're looking to teach? In this video, I'm going to use brushing teeth as the example because, again, that's sort of a lifelong skill that we all have and all use. So as I give examples throughout the video, I'll be using brushing teeth. But looking at that, so how are we going to reinforce brushing teeth? And what is reinforcement? So kind of looking at, I guess, a definition of reinforcement, if you will, we are looking at adding a stimuli for, I guess, positive reinforcement, adding a stimuli to increase the future frequency of a behavior. Negative reinforcement, we can look at the removal of a stimuli to increase the future frequency of a behavior. And looking at those two things, kind of asking what can reinforcement do or what does reinforcement do? So first, reinforcement can strengthen the frequency of a behavior. So frequency, again, looking at how often something happens. So reinforcement can increase the number of times we're brushing our teeth. It can also strengthen the duration. So how long we are brushing teeth. Look at the latency. So how long maybe after you deliver the instruction, okay, it's time to brush your teeth, do they actually begin brushing teeth? It can also increase the magnitude or the intensity of brushing. So maybe initially they were just bringing the toothbrush to their teeth and barely scrubbing or just putting it on there. But no true, I guess, cleaning was going on. So we can increase, I guess, the magnitude or intensity of brushing to actually be effective at cleaning your teeth. And lastly, again, just the topography of behavior. So maybe, again, previously brushing teeth was just putting the toothbrush in their mouth, but there wasn't really, again, actual cleaning going on or brushing going on. So can we reinforce, again, the topography of actually getting the bristles on the teeth and, again, doing the back and forth motion? So those are all different things that reinforcement can strengthen. Tongue twister there. But let's start looking at some positive reinforcement and how we can do that. So positive reinforcement comes in, I guess, 5 different types, if you will. So there is edible reinforcement, there is activity reinforcement, access to tangible items as reinforcement, there's social reinforcement, as well as sensory. So when looking at how am I going to reinforce this behavior, it can be from any of those things. Access to, again, maybe it's M&Ms that they get after they're done brushing teeth. Or maybe it's activity such as going for a walk. Or maybe it's a tangible, again, a toy or a certain item, the iPad, that they get to play with. Maybe it's just, again, social praise. And hey, great job, thanks for brushing your teeth, way to go, high five. Or just that sensory and that kind of automatic reinforcement and self-satisfaction of completing the activity or, again, the behavior or task that we're looking at. We want to kind of move through that continuum of reinforcement for any, again, behavior or task that we're looking at. We can't expect new behaviors to occur out of nowhere or maintain out of nowhere. And a lot of times we will have to start kind of with that highly contrived reinforcement, such as the delivery of an edible or an activity. But again, we kind of want to slowly move and fade through that continuum down to just that social praise, hey, high five, great job, you did it, way to go, bud. And eventually to that automatic reinforcement of, okay, awesome, I brushed my teeth, I feel good for the day, now I can move on. Something else you can consider is thinking back to the video last week about chaining and whether we're looking at forward chaining or backward chaining or total task chaining. Sometimes you might have to reinforce, some of those individual steps. So maybe you are at first just reinforcing picking up the toothbrush and again, putting it in their mouth. And then you can complete the rest of it for the individual. Maybe again, you're reinforcing the individual step of brushing the front of the teeth or brushing back of the teeth. And again, completing the rest of the steps, whether again, you're doing it as a forward chain or backward chain. But think about, again, also reinforcing some of those smaller units of behavior or reinforcing the entire, again, behavior task as a whole. And that's just sort of a great tie back to the video on teaching a new skill using behavior chains and task analysis. So something else to think about there as well. So those are the different, again, types of positive reinforcement that we are looking at. And when we're talking about those different reinforcers, it kind of ties back to our video on motivation. And that reinforcing value really depends on motivation. And it's totally possible that the preference and I guess reinforcer can change throughout the day or from day to day. So you'll definitely have to continue to, again, ask or assess or look at kind of what is motivating or reinforcing in that moment. And again, that's another great cue to think back to that video on motivation and looking also at the satiation or deprivation of something. If they've had candy all day long and you say, oh, it's time to brush your teeth, and then you can have another piece of candy, maybe they're tired of candy, and again, that's not going to be reinforcing right now, so they're not going to want to brush their teeth. But if you say, hey, we can go for a walk, and they haven't been able to go outside all day long, that could serve as a very effective reinforcer. So again, they go and brush their teeth and then immediately get to go for a walk. So again, sort of continuously assessing kind of motivation for different items throughout the day, as well as moving kind of through that continuum of edible reinforcers, activities, tangible, social, or just down to that kind of sensory or automatic reinforcement. Another thing that's super important in order for reinforcement to be effective is looking at the immediacy of the reinforcer. So we want to deliver the reinforcer as immediate as possible and as close kind of to that behavior as possible in order for it to be most effective. And again, to kind of strengthen that behavior and hopefully increase it in the future as well. So initially, again, immediate and super close to when that behavior happens, but this can gradually be thinned and faded and kind of increase that interval between when the behavior happens to the reinforcer. And this is another cue to think back to our video about token economies. So again, those tokens, again, can serve as a reinforcer for right now, but again, maybe they don't get that final reinforcer or terminal reinforcer until they have all those tokens. So again, that time period might be a little bit longer, but we've taught, hey, here's a token economy. These tokens are just, again, stickers on a piece of paper or check marks right now, but they are leading to something. So initially we should, boom, here's your candy, or we get to go for a walk and immediately reinforce. But as we're thinning that and gradually kind of fading through some of those supports, again, I think like a token economy is something you can put in place to, again, thin some time between when the behavior occurs, still giving a reinforcer, but still maintaining and keeping the future frequency of that behavior constant or increasing. Another point that a lot of parents ask and look at is trying to find new reinforcers. And again, well, they're only motivated by candy, and doesn't giving them candy right after brushing their teeth defeat the purpose of brushing teeth? And again, yes or no? Kind of from a cleaning point, yes, of course, right? You just brush your teeth, now you give candy again. Why do we brush our teeth? But from a, I guess, behavior standpoint, no. So we are reinforcing that behavior. They know if they brush their teeth, they get candy, and that's awesome. We can, again, gradually thin to other reinforcers, and we can do that, again, kind of through that pairing procedure through token economies, through some of those choice boards, task analysis, again, things we've talked about in videos leading up to this. But if they have, again, their daily schedule that we're looking at, again, a task analysis for maybe each step of brushing teeth, and they're earning tokens throughout brushing their teeth, we can, again, sort of look at that choice-making aspect as well, and maybe give a choice board of, okay, before it's time to brush your teeth, do you want candy or a walk or the PlayStation or iPad or alone time at the end? And sort of give that choice to see what they want to work for. And then slowly, again, maybe fade some of those choices or move some of those choices to a more appropriate choice, or again, maybe fade in some new reinforcers as well. So as they're brushing their teeth, again, they're following their task analysis, earning tokens, which have now kind of taken the place of that candy. And we've introduced some new other possible choices as well. So again, maybe it is that PlayStation time or iPad time or going for a walk or alone time. They're still getting that choice. They're still, again, working through some supports that we've talked about in previous videos. And now, again, that future frequency of brushing teeth continues. When we are looking at other types of reinforcement, let's jump to negative reinforcement for a moment. So in negative reinforcement, this is just simply a process when a behavior is immediately followed by the removal or reduction of something to increase the future frequency of that behavior. So there are two types of negative reinforcement that we can talk about, and the first one is escape, and the second one is avoidance. So if we're looking at escape as a form of negative reinforcement, again, we're removing something to increase the future frequency of that behavior. Let's talk about drinking a cup of coffee and brushing teeth. So if I just had a cup of coffee, my teeth feel grimy and maybe your breath smells. And again, you don't like that feeling, and other people probably don't either. So you brush your teeth, and now your teeth are no longer grimy and your breath doesn't smell. So in future situations, after having a cup of coffee, you brush your teeth, and again, your teeth aren't grimy anymore and your breath doesn't smell. So that's a great example of negative reinforcement and sort of that escape aspect of it. So you're escaping the grimy feel and bad breath. If we were to look at the avoidance aspect of it, you would kind of avoid drinking coffee altogether to avoid having your teeth feel grimy and your breath smelling bad. So again, a lot of people only think, oh, positive reinforcement is this and negative reinforcement is something bad. But no, it's not anything bad at all. It's just, again, sort of the removal of something or escape of something to increase the future frequency of a particular behavior. I hope that gives you guys some ideas on, again, how to kind of pick a target behavior, how to use positive reinforcement to increase the future frequency of that behavior, some different aspects of positive reinforcement and what that can look like, as well as some aspects of negative reinforcement and what that can look like as well. And then think back to previous videos where we talk about motivation. Again, asking preference of reinforcers, deciding, again, motivation versus satiation versus deprivation, incorporating things like token economies, daily schedules, task analysis to, again, sort of either teach some of these behaviors or reinforce individual steps of these behaviors, as well as, again, helping teach some functional skills that can last the lifespan. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I look forward to seeing you next week. Take care.